Right. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. We have met today, as we normally do on Saturdays, in order to have a conversation on the liberation, the unification, and the development of Africa. Mainly for us, the unification of Africa. So we are here to have a discussion as we do uh, on a weekly basis on Saturdays. And we have today our own brother who is going to be doing a presentation for us. Our brother's name is Imani Yohani Paula, and he is, I believe, Ethiopian, at the heart of the AU. That's where our offices are. And he has a message for us, which he wants us to discuss. And that message is about the continuation of the African Union, whether or not it should stay as it is, replaced or abolished. So he's going to make an argument, and then we shall listen, and then we shall share ideas. We are hoping that we will share his views with the wider Pan-African family, so that we come to a joint position on whether the AU should be abolished or not. Because if it's to be replaced, then we have to consider what that means and how we are going to do it. So thank you very much, those of you who have joined us, and those of you who have been listening on YouTube. We have today changed our means of joining the meeting. In the past, you got a link and you joined. There was no need for registration. But since we were Zoom bombed a few days ago, we have now put in extra security measures as advised by Zoom. So anyone joining our class now will have to register and join. What we are considering is, because there are people here who join every week, both Thursdays and Saturdays, we are considering whether we should have just one registration and then you can join all our sessions, or whether we should have it session by session. It's likely that we shall have session by session for the Saturdays, but for the Thursdays, we have just one registration, or vice versa. We'll see. We are still discussing what to do. So I'd like to welcome those of you who have joined us, have managed to register and join us. Brother Pigeon, you might have to unmute Brother Imani later, once you're ready to do that, because I know you are in the back office sorting things out. Right. Okay. So we have one of the security features we've enabled now is that you can't share your screen, and you can't you shouldn't be able to share a video or share a whiteboard, but you can unmute yourself, I think. Brother Amani, see if you can unmute yourself. You should be able to unmute yourself. Yeah. If not, then you will ask the host to unmute you. Okay. Thank you. Right. So, right, we've enabled the chat though. Anyway, so welcome, Brother Ras. Welcome, Sister Shaza. Welcome, Sister Tapua. Welcome, Brother Imani. Welcome, Brother Pigeon. And let's start. So what we're going to do today, we are not going to look at any particular newspaper today. We usually look at the continent, but we won't today. We will proceed straight away with sharing the news from where we are. And the idea here is so that we can see where Africa is in terms of our liberation, unification, and development. Do you think where you are and what is happening around you on the continent, do you think Africa is progressing towards unification, or do you think we are still far away from unification? We're going to share our views, and I'll start with Sister Tapua. So we are sharing news, developments, what is happening around you, and do you think that we are close to or far away from unification as a continent? Sister Tapua, any news from your end? Okay, so right. If you can't unmute yourself, let us know in the chat.
Yes.
Right.
I think now I can.
You can.
Now
okay.
I can. Yes, because I couldn't unmute myself.
Okay.
At the moment, I'm still as hopeful that we are going to be. The momentum is towards unification, but what kind of unification is what's up for discussion? At the moment, our neighbor, because I'm in Zimbabwe, our neighbor South Africa, we're anxiously waiting to see what's going to happen there, because it's definitely going to have an impact on what will happen in Zimbabwe. So considering the possibilities of what could be happening to Zimbabweans who are in South Africa, because Zimbabweans almost behave like they're part of the province of South Africa, as it were. So whatever happens there will affect us in a significant way. So we're just anxiously waiting and hoping things will settle. So that's all I can say for now here.
But how does South Africa fit into the unification agenda? Do you think South Africa is even thinking of unification? Because one of the things we've heard is that Malema didn't do well because he talked about open borders, and South Africans hate open borders. So what is your view? What's the view of Zimbabwe on this issue? So just so we all know, we are having a conversation around Africa unification, and at the moment we are hearing news wherever you are. What do you think is happening to the unification agenda? And later on, brother Imani will give us a presentation on what he thinks about the AU. So be ready to share your views wherever you are. Yes, Sister.
Right. The reason why I was saying I'm as optimistic as ever is because the ordinary common person behaves like Africa is unified already. People cross borders from Zimbabwe to do business with our neighboring countries. The politicians on the other hand are the ones who are guarding these borders. And I'm from the small town of Mutare in Mozambican border. The border there does not exist because it was imposed on us. And therefore, people from one side grow their maize, corn on the other. There's trade, there's marriages, so on the ground, according to the people as they live their lives, it's the politicians who are interfering. So once the politicians get to see that people are serious in terms of trade and interaction and living together and cultural similarities and so on, there's just not a problem. But with South Africa is a special case because I think apartheid conditioned the inhabitants of South Africa to think of lines across not just race, but tribe as well. Because we need to remember that the apartheid system had kingdoms set up for the different tribes. So you've got the Zulus, you've got the Xhosas with their kings and so on. And that was to divide the people. But the people within that, the South African sphere, have held on to that, which on the one hand is good because we're contrasting it with the Zimbabweans who've lost almost everything Zimbabwe. The South Africans are more culturally astute, but that is dividing people in a way that blinds them from seeing that we're all Africans. But I'm glad to say, particularly because Zimbabwe took a very active part in, dare I use the word, liberation of South Africa. We got along very well with the people who were fighting the armed struggle. They were based in Zimbabwe. We interacted with them, and that relationship still exists. So there are the likes of Malema who don't see the boundaries, who don't want to see the boundaries. But then, of course, you've got the Jacob Zumas who are playing into the hands of tribe and everything else that rears its ugly head when tribalism comes into force. But I hope reason will prevail, because this is our opportunity, like we were saying when we were talking about education and Pan-Africanism and getting people into the systems to get them to know what it means, so that we don't fight each other, because we're fighting each other as Black people instead of fighting the people who don't want to share, people who've come to occupy, neo-colonialists and so on. So it's the education that's needed, I think, in South Africa, serious education.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So thank you so much. For those who have joined us, we are having a conversation around African unification. And we are going around for anyone to share, for everyone, if that's possible, to share what they think is happening on the unification front. Do you think we are closer to unification, or we are far away from unification? So our Saturdays are really for us to have a conversation and to ignite a conversation across Africa, because we don't think that there's enough conversation going on at the ordinary level amongst our people on this question of unification. So thank you if you've joined us. We have since been joined by Sister Myra and Brother Sipiwe. So welcome. Now, so let's hear from more of us in terms of where we think things are. So, Brother Ras, are you able to share with us your perspective on the unification of Africa, especially as you're in South Africa? How do you see things? Are you able to share with us? And we shall be hearing from brother Imani in a moment. Very soon, now we've heard from a few of us. You can unmute yourself, I believe, Brother Ras. Yep.
Yes, my elder, give thanks, blessed family, again in this Sabbath day. Oh, my elder man, I don't have much to share. I would like to hear more. But what I can say though is that here in South Africa, we're having there's discussions about coalitions, whereby the various governments, in fact, the various political parties who participated in the elections, might come together to join forces. And so obviously what we're having is a potential coalition of ANC and the DA, which is the opposition party of the white people here in South Africa. So there's a lot of talks about the elections of South Africa are somehow rigged, because according to the EFF commentaries and the PA commentaries, they are saying that there's no way the DA, which is the white party, could have had votes that would come to be second place, because DA has about 22% of the votes, then 40% is ANC, and then Jacob Zuma's MK is 13%, and then you have the EFF number 4. So the people are complaining that there's no way EFF could be number 4 and have 9% votes, when most of the Black people have been voting for the EFF here in South Africa. So we're still trying to see how these things will unfold. Maybe I will update the family for further information in these coming days. Thank you.
And Brother Ras, before you go, so before you stop talking, so but how do you see unification from where you are? Continental unification. How are South Africans seeing it from where you are?
Yes, my elder. Hey, to be honest, here in South Africa, the black people, the poor black masses, they support the One Africa movement of Pan-Africanism. However, because I can say with the 90% of Bantu people in South Africa, the 10% that is the working class are the ones that are actually against the One Africa policy, because obviously they are benefiting from this capitalist government of South Africa. So they're the ones who are actually being vocal about not allowing so-called foreigners of Africa to enter the borders, use our hospitals, our schools, take our jobs, etc., etc. So it is the working class, the very few black working class that is against the One Africa policy. Otherwise, the vast majority masses of the people, they do support the One Africa policy. So there's this confusion that's happening here in South Africa concerning that. So I think that's my comment.
No, that's Brother Ras. So it's interesting you say that. So how do you think that, and Brother Sipiwe is here as well, he will be speaking to this topic as well. How do you think we could organize the vast majority of grassroots, as you see it, who are in favor of this One Africa?
Yeah, my elder, to be honest, I think the white people are always a step ahead, because why I'm saying that here in South Africa, they know that the EFF have the very first point of EFF, one of its cardinal pillars is land redistribution to the black people. So now what's happening now, black people, the vast majority masses of people are complaining that it's taking too long, this policy of bringing back land to black people, without compensation. So now what's happening, some of the people are starting to take land by force, and now it's causing a conflict within the people now. It could, like the mother explained, this tribalistic conflict that is being fueled up. So I think what can help could be school, but now when you're talking about school, we're not talking about the schools that we know that are run by government. I think we need African-centered schools where the people can know the history of Africa and actually start to appreciate one another, because this fighting of over resources of South Africa is actually causing more trouble when it comes to Africans who come from outside of the border of South Africa. So it's African-centered schools that can help to readdress the problem and actually to amplify the One Africa movement.
Interesting. No, thank you for that. African-centered schools, that's something we will look at. And we CSG will understand that, because as you know, we run a Thursday school, a Thursday class on Zoom every Thursday. And the idea of having an African-centered school all across Africa is something that I think will appeal to us and our backers. Our backers being people like yourself. So thank you. We know, Brother Ras, we know you are very keen. So you're very keen on even learn to do something. So thank you so much, our brother. And for those of you who have joined us, we are having a conversation around African unification. Thursdays are meant for us to have a conversation, and then also we hear from others. So, for example, today we are going to hear from Brother Imani, who is going to present on the African Union. He has a view that he wants to share with us, so we can discuss what he thinks. And then we are hoping that whatever he discusses, we shall then get in touch with other Pan-African organizations in order to hear their view on what they think, and then we can have a joint view on the AU, which is something I think Brother CP will be very, very. I think Brother CP will very much support that, because he's been calling for action. I'm not necessarily saying he will agree with Brother Imani or not. We shall see as he gives his view and as we hear from Brother Imani. So if you've joined us, welcome. Before Brother Imani joins the discussion with his presentation, we want to hear more from other people on what they think is happening to African unification from where they are sitting or standing. What do they see happening? Do you think African unification is closer, or is it still far away? The AU says 2063. We are in 2024. Even given 2063, will we even achieve unification as the AU thinks we would? So please share what you think. We've heard from Brother Ras. Let's hear from Sister Myra, please. Sister Myra, what do you think from where you sit or stand? How do you see things?
Thank you. I've kind of just joined, so I don't have much to say back.
We are just having a conversation, Sister Myra, around unification and what you think. So yeah, we're just having a conversation.
I might shock comrades online, but I think we're heading the right direction, even though it doesn't seem like it. And why do I say that? Because speaking from my own home country, the colonial systems are falling apart. After years, 60 years since independence, of corruption and lack of development, it's got to a point where economically, it's everyday survival. The institutions are dead. Nothing works. Eventually, it will collapse. Why is that good? There's a professor that I listen to. It's called, maybe people have heard of him. It's called Louis Gordon. He's an American brother. And he said that sometimes before progress, there has to be a process of deterioration. And I think that there are many African states that are in that process of just breaking down. And I feel like in that breaking down, it gives us people that want to see a new Africa a chance to rebuild. And Brother Kwame said something about 2060.
2063. That's the AU's
reunification. Even if we haven't attained unification by then, what we can do right now is start building institutions, start building education institutions, projects, right? So that by that time, the whole colonial project just collapses. We'll be there. We have to think in aspects of time. I'm not saying that we can foresee or foretell. No one can do that. But we also have to have some kind of vision. We have to be visionaries if we are liberators. So when the thing fails, we'll say, you see, we'll see the Pan-African is what will be there telling them, you see, we've been trying to tell you, Nkrumah said this. So then they'll look at us and say, so what's the alternative? Are you ready? We'll be ready. We'll say, we have institutions ready. We have plans ready. We have plan B ready. So I think at the moment, even though it might seem futile, it's not futile. More and more people are waking up. More and more people are seeking knowledge of their true African identity. And as materialists, let us build. Let us start now to build. Start projects. Imagine if we have small study centers, small projects. Imagine where they'll be by 2060. Just imagine. We'll say our institutes of CSG, they started in 2024. They've been running for 40 years now. Can you imagine? We have to be there when the time comes.
Yeah,
we may not have power right now, as in political power, because now this is in the current philosophical systems, the current systems, that is how you rule. But things change. So what can we do? Let us build our institutions. Let us build our projects. So that when the time comes, we'll be the alternative. We'll be looking good.
Excellent.
Imagine if the colonial systems had worked. It would be such a hard sell to say, no, these are not our ways. No, these imperialists, they'll say, what are you talking about? Things are perfect. Things, we have hospitals, we have education systems. But now, even in Uganda, when you say these systems are not for us, people say, yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. But what can we do? So we have to be the answer of what can we do? What else is possible? We have to be the answer. We have to be ready and say, this is what's been preaching for years. See? So it's time. But we have to do the work now. Start the work now. Build now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sister Mara. Very encouraging. Very, very encouraging. Thank you for your positive approach. Thank you so much. So those of you who have joined us, we are having a conversation around the unification of Africa. And as part of that conversation, our own brother Imani is going to speak on the question of the AU. And he has views he wants to share with us, and which we want to listen to. And in terms of the unification of Africa. In the meantime, as we always do on Saturdays, we are hearing the news from wherever you are. What do you think is happening? Is Africa moving towards unification, or is Africa far away from unification? What do you think? Let's hear from Sister Shaza.
Hello, greetings.
Greetings, Sister Shaza.
Right. I tend to agree with what the last speaker had said.
Sister Myra, yes.
Yeah, I'm quite optimistic. And the fact that we're all sat here on this platform, that alone is unity. And it's also happening up and down, well, from different countries, the Caribbean and so forth. People are starting to wake up and unite. I'm not really versed on the politics in different regions of Africa, but I like to think that things are slowly happening. Particularly what's happening in is it Burkina Faso and those types of places? Then yeah, I think things are moving slowly, because once you've woke up, you can't go back to sleep again. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sister Shaza. You are right. The mango ripes very slowly. And even though we don't see it ripening, it is ripening. And before we realize it, it's ready to be eaten. So yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Let's hear from others on how do you see things from where you are? What is the news from where you are? Is Africa uniting, or is it far away from unification? Brother Sipiwe, what do you think?
Greetings, comrades.
Greetings, brother.
So I would like to focus my comments on not so much should we unite or why should the African Union be replaced. I think it's more important that we apply our critical thinking as to the how. I agree with the optimism of Sister Myra and Sister Shaza, and I also agree, I think it's very important what Ross Guguletu was saying. He's making a very important point. The masses, the working masses of the people already understand that we need to unite, that we need to become a power. During the last 50 years or more, African states, they've proven their inability to manage significant portions of their sovereignty. And they have surrendered this sovereignty to their former colonial governments, the neo-colonials, who are not accountable to African people. Now, a federalist compact between the African states will allow them to take back those portions of their sovereignty and voluntarily surrender parts of it that they deem fit to a federal government of the African people, by the African people, and for the African people. And it's self-evident that such an entity will only be accountable to African people and no foreign power. Now, here's the critical thing. It's only the African masses who have the true legitimate power to authorize African states to voluntarily surrender any portion of their sovereignty to an entity which they deem will be able to properly manage it. Okay, so sovereignty rests with the people. And so what we should be talking about is, how do people leverage their sovereignty to bring about a united African states? And what the Pan-African Federalist movement has foreseen is that there are some African countries who have in their constitutions articles which say they support some kind of united African states, some kind of federal union. And they also talk about the people's right to a referendum. I recently went to Burkina Faso a few weeks ago. I studied its constitution, and they literally say in their constitution that if the people hold a referendum voting for Burkina Faso to federalize into a greater union, that's the pathway. So the missing link is educating the masses of African people to say, find those countries who have these clauses in their constitutions. Not all of them do, but some do. You start with those countries. You say you have a constitutional right to hold a referendum on the unification of Africa and establishing a federated united African states. When you educate the people that they have this right, then you find a government like Burkina Faso or perhaps Niger or Mali or some other government who's popularly support for taking these stands against the neocolonialists. They have the popular support, and you say, look, here is how you prove to the world that you're not a coup, you're not a dictator. If you support a referendum of the people in your country to vote on this issue, you will demonstrate to the world you have a popular mandate to make this Sahel alliance, which can grow. Once you have one state do it and a second state do it, then you have an example. These are the states who actually are an embodiment of what? Democracy in its most virtuous form, giving the people the right to speak and vote. And any country after that that fails to allow their people to hold a referendum on this question will be seen as anti-democratic and will eventually become a pariah nation. So this is what I believe. I believe we're there, especially the young people. They understand Garvey's vision, that we're individual states can't manage their sovereignty. They will never dominate world politics unless we have one government, one currency, one military. The working class masses understand it. They just don't know how to achieve it. And that's what we need to start teaching. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, brother CPOA, for your view on how we can do it. Our concern in CSU was that there wasn't enough conversation around the question of unification. But I think what we are hearing is that even if we are not hearing it, the people on the ground already believe in it. And that's ordinary people. And also, Brother CP, what you're saying is that not only that, but there are constitutions of the current new colonial states, some of them, that already have that in their constitution. And so thank you very much for that. I didn't know that. I know Ghana had it when it was there by Nkrumah. So there was a Ghana Mali-Guinea Union. And I also know that Ghana wanted to unite with DRC Congo under Patrice Lumumba. And then that was all kind of destroyed. So it's interesting to know that like Ghana and Nkrumah, there are states today that have that. So I certainly agree with you that that is something we can begin to work on. And we might have a separate discussion conversation around that. If it's okay with you, we'll choose another Saturday and then we'll have a conversation around this very question of the states that have that in their constitution, and then what do we do to show the people how. So thank you very, very much. The time is 7:43 GMT London time. Now, as I said, Brother Imani is here to present to us. So what I'd like to do is that in the next 2 minutes, Brother Imani, get ready. In the next 2 minutes, let's hear your presentation on the AU. So get ready in 2 minutes time. And whilst you're getting ready, let's hear from, shall we say, Brother Everton. Brother Everton, can you unmute yourself and share with us your position and how you see things from where you are? Do you think we are closer to unification or far away from unification?
Yeah, good evening, everybody, family. Yeah, I joined the call, but I was dealing with a personal call, so I've just come on and put the volume back on. You'll have to forgive me, but you know, the domestics and all the rest of it. Okay. Regarding the unification, yes. I am with the Sahel countries. I'm hopeful, and that's where I see the light burning on the Pan-African side. It's early days, but you know, we've got to remain hopeful because it will happen. It will happen. I believe it will happen. If it's not in my lifetime, it will happen, because as the youths are growing up and with the social media and different forms of news getting to them, they're wising up. I spent the last sort of like 5-6 months in Gambia, and obviously what's taking place in Senegal, yes, the youths are talking about it. The elders are not quite with it in Gambia, but the youths are talking about it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, brother Everton. Thank you. So, brother Imani, are you ready?
Brother Kwame.
Yes, Brother Pigeon.
Am I able to share my thinking on my news?
Yes, do it after Brother Imani. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll come first after Brother Imani. Yeah. Thank you, Brother Imani. Are you ready? If you are, please start sharing your presentation on the African Union. Thank you. I know Brother Imani has two. He says he has 2 gadgets. Now, from what I can see, one of them has no microphone. The other one has. So hopefully he can start. Can unmute himself and.
Very good. Yeah. Oh. You guys, you can hear me now, right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm having a little difficulties to connect, but I think
before you continue, how long do you need?
I don't know, maybe like 30 minutes or 40 minutes, something like that.
Okay, so you have up to 8:15 then, yeah?
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that would be good. Let's see.
And then once Brother Imani has finished his presentation,
okay, so
on unification, then we will continue our conversation. Yes, brother.
Yes, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Imani. Let me see. So, in the memory of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Tristan Revert, in the memory of Nat Turner, in the memory of Henry Sylvester William, in the memory of Dusse Mohammed, in the memory of Marcos Messiah Garvey, in the memory of Patrice Emery Lumumba, in the memory of Hugh Newton, in the memory of Martin Luther King, in the memory of Thomas Isidore Sankara, in the memory of Malcolm X, in the memory of Francis Kwame Nkrumah or Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, in the memory of Fred Hampton, the memory of Steve Biko, in the memory of Dr. John Hannah Clark, in the memory of Ahmed Seko Toure, in the memory of Yusuf bin Chanan, in the memory of Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, in the memory of Runoko Rashid, in the memory of Walter Redney, in the memory of Dr. Abdul Khalid Muhammad, in the memory of Winnie Madikizela Mandela, in the memory of Steve Kokore, in the memory of Kwame Ture, in the memory of Professor Tony Martin, in the memory of Dr. John Joseph Magufuli, in the memory of Kat G. Woodson. I greet you all, my fellow Pan-Africanists and my fellow Africanists. My name is Imani. I am not expert on anything except my life experience. So everything I'm gonna be talking to you today is either based on what I have studied, what I have experienced in my life. I'm not expert on the topic I was called to talk about, but I have my personal views. And my personal views has nothing to do with I don't have any beef, or I don't have any personal problem with either African Union or the leadership of African Union or any other political party or group of people. Absolutely not. The only thing I'm here to present to you is what I believe to be intellectually facts that you can check. If you have any question, please, you will be able to present to me or to ask the question. Now, the question I was, let me introduce myself, maybe those who don't know about me. I have got a chance to live in different countries. Tanzania, I lived in Tanzania. I lived in Burundi. I lived in Rwanda. I lived in Uganda. I lived in Kenya. And I lived around 14 years in the US. I graduated from US, so I lived there. I call almost my home. But outside of, I visited now a long time, Senegal and South Africa. And now I'm living in Ethiopia for the past 4 years. So I think I have saw some of the things that maybe I can talk about. That's number one. Number two, my working experience, I have worked in the US more than 23 jobs. So I have pretty much good experience of cleaning, all of those kind of wrapping sandwiches. So those are the things I have done. I have done a lot of work in different areas. So I think that is also something you guys you can know, because when you work there, you get a lot of experience as well to socialize and work with a lot of people from different countries. I'm a journalist in Kiswahili and of course English for the past 4 years on TV, and I prepare news, I write news, I read news and the programs, sometimes even English, as I said. For my, I have 3 books, but there is one is coming up, the third one, which called Radicalized Pan-Africa. So most of the information I'm gonna be sharing with you today is coming from the book Radicalized Pan-African. When it comes to languages, I'm able to speak Kiswahili, of course, and English, which I'm speaking now, and some Spanish and some French, enough to understand what someone is saying. For the languages, like here, there is local languages I hear here and there, but also some languages from Western Tanzania and Burundi and Rwanda, and of course Lingala a little bit, and Ugandan. So those are the languages I can speak. My education, I don't think is matter, because I even regretted to have education. I found out I lost my time, so I don't really say that. But since 2020, I have been studying at home for my own, just to be able to educate myself. Now, I think that's pretty much what I want to say about myself. My professionalism is a freedom fighter. I'm a soil advocate globally and freedom fighter. I don't have any other professional. That's what I do all day long, all night long. Yeah, so that being said, I think that concludes about me. So if you guys, I don't think there's anyone who have questions for so far. Let me go to the really topic. When I present topic, I saw you guys seem like you don't, you're not comfortable to say African Union have to be closed. In fact, you change around or replaced and all of that kind of things, but because his opinion it has nothing to do with anything, it's just opinion. And in fact, as you can see me, I do not have a power to do anything like that, or you guys, you don't have it. So pretty much you just put there as opinion. But my topic was that Africa Union have to be closed. So now, but also on the flyer, you guys, you add something very important, which I always love, which is Pan-Africa. Pan-Africa is something I'm gonna have to start with in order to go towards Africa Union. So what is the Pan-Africa? Pan-Africa is the idea for Black people liberation by Black people. So that's all it means pretty much. So Pan-Africanism is only regard to Black people. Anyone who may trying to include other friends of Black people, it does not work like that. So well, here it is. What are the 3 principles of Pan-Africanism? Pan-Africa, what is the 3 principles? Those 3 principles are not the only ones for Pan-Africa, but they are the basic fundamental of Pan-Africanism. The first one is United States of Africa. You guys were talking about the unity of Africa. So not United States of Africa, there is no Pan-Africanism. There's no Pan-Africa at all. So that is principle number 1. Principle number 2 is Africa for Africans at home and abroad. The ownership of Africa must be equally to those who are at home and to those who are abroad, because Pan-Africa itself was started by people who were not in African continent. I think you guys, you can agree with me in most of that. Now, the last one is called Race First. So Race First is the number 3, which is the last one for the principles of Pan-Africanism. The other ones does not matter. When I say Race First, it means that your race comes before your religion. Your race comes before your job. Your race comes before also called countries in Africa that were drawn on by pen by white people sitting in Europe, not even in Africa. Your race comes before your ethnics. We are blessed in Africa by God bless us. We have more than 3,000 ethnics. So those ethnics does not come before your race. Your race comes first. And this I have to run in America. I thought maybe I was something different before my race, but I found out that the race comes first. Now, what is not Pan-Africanism? Because this is one of the things that plays a lot of people. When there is things that we may assume they are Pan-Africanists, but they are not. They are just, most of them, they are humanitarian things. For instance, anti-slavery is not Pan-Africanism. Is humanitarian, is the obligations of a human to another human. If anyone is enslaving anybody in this planet, you should stand up anywhere and fight for that. So anti-slavery is not Pan-African. In fact, most of people who fight against slavery were not even Black. Number 2, colonization. Anti-colonization is not Pan-Africanism. It is not. It's just, as I said, humanitarian. It's the obligation of men to men. If someone is colonizing another one, you should stand up. For instance, if someone is colonizing South Korea or Philippines or another place, as me, as human, I must stand up and fight against that. So it has nothing to do with Pan-Africanism. So apartheid as well. Anti-apartheid is not make anyone a Pan-Africanist. It's just human obligation to another human. also Pan-Africanism is not communism or socialism. In fact, the book of Professor Tony Martin highlights, which is called Rest Fast, when he's talking about Dr. Marcos Garvey, he talked about communism and socialism from Russia. They fought against Marcos Garvey. So very much you need to understand that even though a lot of people we honor as heroes of Pan-Africanism, which they were communism, some of them they are socialism, whatever it is, but Pan-Africa is not communism, it's not socialism, but it's also not capitalism. It is Pan-Africa. That's all it is. There's nothing behind that or other side. But also, it's not Catholicism, it's not Christianity, it's not Hotep, it's not what is this? The people who believe in ancestors. You will hear that my ancestor helped me, this and that. It's not. Pan-Africa is not religion at all. All religions are inside Pan-Africa. Okay, Pan-Africa is not designated for one religion. And Pan-Africa is just the way of life to free ourselves. As the son of Marcos Garvey, his name is Justice Garvey, he said his father, Marcos Garvey, who I honor so much, he established Pan-Africanism, one, to bring the sense of belonging, to give belonging, a place of belonging to our fellow diaspora who are living outside of Africa, because as you know, we in Africa, we don't really know the pain they go through. So it was the place of sense of belonging. So that is why Pan-Africa has to be focusing on actually diaspora more than we in Africa on motherland. Now, from there, I think I finished with Pan-Africa. I want to come to Africa Union, which is the topic for today. Me personally, is my opinion, is not anyone here an opinion. I believe that Africa Union have to be closed. Africa Union does not need to be, we don't need to re-establish another institution, maybe to challenge it. It's not going to work. We're not going to reshape it, to kind of revive it. That is also not going to work. I will tell you the reasons why. We don't have, I hear some people saying that we need to remove the headquarters of Africa Union to other countries. I think you guys have heard about this. It's been around even the time of Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Meles Zenawi. They were debating about that when Gaddafi was still alive, that they need to remove the headquarters. He wants to remove that to Sirte somewhere in Libya. But that is absolutely meaningless. We don't need that either. I believe that Africa Union, in my opinion, need to be closed. Now, why is that? Why do I take a stand on that position? This is based on how Africa Union was established. I don't know if I can share, maybe I should share some slide, but if I can't, I will definitely read it for you guys. It's something you can go and search. That's why I'm trying to use intellectual debate here so that no one get lost. So Africa Union, someone is seem like it's a moving mouse. I don't even know. Yes.
You are free to share if you want to share anything via screen.
Okay. So okay. How do you share that? Oh, I think is you shared on the web. New border existed. White border notes. I don't know how to share that. Anyways, so the first thing we're gonna go through, I believe we should look the Constitution of Africa Union, because let me see. Open what border now? How do you share on
okay.
On Zoom? Yeah, where do you go to? Yeah,
you can proceed.
Anyways,
with
I don't let me leave this alone.
Okay.
Yes, let me leave that alone. Yeah, so let's start with the Constitution of Africa Union, or Organization of Unity of Africa, which I hope you guys, you can find it. If you put on your desktop, your computer.
Which constitution are you referring to? OAU or AU?
It's called a constitutional constitutive act of the Africa Union.
Okay.
So
let me look at it. I'll share it.
Yeah, so it's on PDF. You can find that. It's on my screen now. I can show you where you can see that. Very good. Yeah. So where do we go to?
Is it this one, brother?
Yeah, it's that one there. Yeah, okay. It is that one there. So go down on article number 3. Article number 3, which is supposed to be, it's gonna be followed by article. Go down. Article number 3 is supposed to be on
this one. The objectives.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, article number 3. Yeah, the objectives. Very good. So objective. Line number 1, A, achieve great unity and solidarity between the African countries and the people of Africa. So the solidarity, there is here unity and solidarity between people of Africa. Now, if you go down to promote and defend African common position, accelerating political and the economic and integration of the continent, number C. Number B, no, read number B. Number B, defend the sovereignty, territory integrity, and independence of its members. So defend sovereignty and territory integrity of its members. If you can go down to article number 4, can you go down, please? Article number 4. Article number 4. Line number B. Respect of the borders existed on the achievement of independence. We are talking about the unity of Africa. How do you defend or respect the border existed on achievement of independence? How do you do that? Because this constitution itself, in order for African to work anything, it has to be removed. Why? For instance, let me give you a quick example. I hope you guys know about this, but if you don't know, I'm gonna go over that for you. The country Somalia, today we know, as we know it's today. Somalia, if you're gonna give the sovereignty of a member of the state based on how you existed as the colonizers left it, you're gonna have to give Somalia 3 countries. The Somalia colonized by Italy, the Somalia colonized by England or British, the Somalia colonized by not colonized because it's called Agadon, which is on a part of Ethiopia. So Somalia will have to be divided in 3 countries. Okay, so for that reason, if you talk about the unity of Africa in that aspect, you definitely have to give more countries in Africa independence than bringing a unit. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm trying to say here. The Constitution of Africa Union promotes the line drawn on map of Africa by white folks sitting in Europe, not even in Africa, that they are here to protect those lines, which we were talking about in South Africa. Someone was talking about it. We cannot afford that. And that for that reason, that's one of the reasons why African Union have to be closed. Why? As long as African Union still exists, we fight. Instead, we're gonna be divided. For instance, for example, since African Union was established, because of that constitution, Ethiopia gets separated with Somalia. No, with Eritrea. You know about that. I believe 93. South Sudan is being divided. Somalia itself, I was talking about, is now divided in 3 countries, but there is one, it's called Somaliland. It's called Somaliland that have passport, that have currency, that have parliament, that have it can offer visa. Almost it has its own airport and the leadership. Everything is just Somaliland is almost independent country. So instead, African Union to bring us to the unity.
Money? Brother Money,
When you look,
okay. Proceed.
Yeah, so when you look on,
Just
so
proceed.
when you look on, yes, thank you. So when you look on the other things about African Union that we should definitely be able to, that the reason why we should close it is the fact that African Union have completely failed for any aspect of since it was established. By the way, who established African Union? Because that's another thing that a lot of people do not know. African Union was not established by Africans, it was established by France and the colonizers. If you don't know who is it, General Charles de Gaulle. General Charles de Gaulle. He's the one who was instrumental to establish African Union, which was the Organization of the Unity of Africa back in 1963. Now, how did he do that? Pretty much was established by what we call jealousy, or here in America they say kanat, or in Swahili is wivu. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, he had the idea or vision of uniting fully Africa. You can exit that, by the way, the constitution, no problem. I think I finished with it. So he had the plan to unite Africa. That was his plan he had. But the Western, because they do not, they did not like the idea, they now want the view, they decided to actually establish what they called Casablanca Group, Monrovia Group, which I think a lot of you guys, you are aware of that. But there is something you don't know about the Monrovia Group. One, the Western, especially the United States and the British, they went to William Tubman, who was the president of Liberia. By the way, Liberia country has been a disaster for Black people. From when it was established until today, Liberia country has been nothing more than to just betray us. So they went to Mr. William Tubman, and then they told him, like, you have to stop this idea of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah to actually bring United States of Africa together. And then Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, William Tubman, he actually went to Felix de Bouffougne of Ivory Coast, who believed that he was not even Ivory Coastian, he was a France or French, whatever it is. And then and then he went to Leopold Senghor, who France has already give a white woman or white wife. And then after that, they went to Haile Selassie. I don't even know why a lot of people praise Haile Selassie, who France and England have helped him to actually fight against the second Ethiopian nation in 1930. So Haile Selassie has already won the favor to the Western, who helped him to fight against Italy. So when they sit together, they decide to establish something called the Monrovia Bloc. But it was just based on to fight against the Casablanca Bloc, which I hope each one of us for now you already know about that. So now when Haile Selassie called the meeting in 1963, they already have decided to just now unite, okay, to just come up with something that with the France putting a lot of money inside behind the French colonized countries, that they're gonna create something, but not the true unity. And they call that progressive unity or progressive, whatever you call it. I don't even know. It's meaningless, as you already see that on the ground. Obviously, we're not judging anything based on the theory or anything. We judge things based on how average person from Gambia or from Central African Republic feel about African Union or about his liberation, about his economic well-being, about his medical well-being, his education. A lot of people cannot even find food to eat. So, anyways, from there, African Union was established. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, which I have in my hand, his speech. Also, you can find that the speech of creation of on unity of Organization of Unity of Africa in a PDF. If you can find that, please, for me, I would be happy for you to find that, because there is a couple of things I want to read there in short, very quickly. The speeches of establishment of Unity of Africa. Please, can you upload that for me on page 52? Yeah, I believe it's page 52. Can you pull that up? I have that in my hand, but I can definitely, you can also pull that up so people can read it. So when the Organization of Unity of Africa was established, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, very angry, actually. A lot of people who say Dr. Kwame Nkrumah established African Union. It's absolutely not. He did not establish that. He was very angry, and he told them, I'm going to read what he just said. We must also decide on the location where this body, office, and experts, I'm on page 52, and experts will work. The new headquarters of capital of Union government, some central place in Africa may be the fairest suggestion, neither at Bangui or Central African Republic or Leopoldville in Congo. My colleagues, may I have other proposal? The community of foreign ministers, officials, and experts should be empowered to establish a commission to frame a constitution for the Union government of African states, a commission to work out of continent-wide plan for unify a common economic and industrial program for Africa. This plan should include proposal for setting up a common market for Africa. You hear me? A common market for Africa. B, a African currency, one currency. C, African monetary zone. D, a African central bank. E, a continental commission system. Those are what, sorry, excuse me. This is what Dr. Kwame Nkrumah very angry said. He said that we need all these things he just mentioned. But he ended by saying that if you guys, you do not listen to me, this is something always people don't want to mention when we are talking about Pan-Africanism and the African Union. If you don't want to listen to me, this is what's going to happen to us. This is what's going to happen. One, the neocolonialism is coming back. It's going to emphasize in our ethnic differences. It's also on this speech as well. It's going to emphasize on our different ethnic differences. It's going to come back. And he say, I will not see that. I will not be here. They will remove all of us. And you too, you will not say it. Guess what? Do you know the speech of Haile Selassie, the Emperor Haile Selassie respond? He did not listen to him. Not only him, no one listened to him. Nobody, I was reading all those speeches. Nobody listened to him. And guess what? It happened to us. Now we are living in Ethiopia. There is no peace. We are in Congo. We don't have peace. In Chad, there is no peace. Let me talk about this too. In 2021, if I'm not mistaken, you guys, you can check facts on me. The president of Chad was assassinated. And Moussa Faki, who is the chairman of African Union even today, he's from Chad, but he can't say anything about it. He can't do anything about it. Because African Union is powerless. Let me tell you the fact. African Union has no power the power of African Union is less than the power of Eswatini. The power of African Union is less than the power of Djibouti, which has a population of less than 1 million. Okay, Djibouti have less than 1 million. So why will you have a institution that has no power for whatsoever to operate or to do anything? Nothing African Union can do. Some people debate that if we give money to African Union, it's going to operate. No, the foundation is wrong. First of all, it was established by the jealous of people, the Western, to destroy the unity of Africa. So anytime you establish, you build, you trying to change anything inside African Union, does not work. President Muammar Gaddafi, I tried to find my research, I can't find him to be black, so most of the time I don't mess with people who are not black, but he did very good for Africa, so I have to recognize that. He tried to change it with all his resources, and he could not. Paul Kagame tried of Rwanda, he cannot. You cannot change how African Union operate, absolutely not, because the constitution is wrong, the foundation is wrong, it's based on sovereignty, supremacy of the country's members. Each member is sovereignty and it has its supremacy. It can operate on any level. Nobody can say anything about it because African Union has no power on any country. Let me give you another small country, for instance. The Gambia. The country is almost like miracle country. You guys, maybe someone is from West Africa, you know this. Gambia is one family of people, the tribes or the ethnics that are found in Senegal, and also the same tribes found in the Gambia. Gambia is inside Senegal, just as the Gambian river goes, so does the country goes. But the Gambian country can decide on anything against African Union, and it will be proved because the Constitution of African Union is absolutely give that power to the Gambian country. Any country in Africa you think of. Why? Because, for instance, now they are talking inside the Agenda 2063, which I will recover a little bit. There is what they call African Continental Free Trade Area, which sounds very good, by the way. But that cannot work. Why? Because any country in Africa, either small or big, it does not see its self-interest as a sovereignty country. It can say, no, I don't want to deal with this. And no one can say anything about it. So it can decide. If, for instance, that small country, Eswatini, no, let me use Burundi, for instance. Burundi, small country in Central East Africa, If Burundi say African Continental Free Trade, wait, yes.
How many more minutes would you need? Sorry for that.
Maybe 10 minutes, maybe.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah. So if Burundi say, okay, I don't want to deal with the African Continental Free Trade Area because I do not have any best interest for me. It does not have any best interest for me. It can just say, I'm not going to be part of it because the Constitution of African Union gave power to the country Burundi. So now, finishing up, let me go. Can you pull up Agenda 63 in PDF, please? Because there is some of the things I want to prove here, why African Union should be closed. But before I go even there, also while you are uploading that, in Abidjan agreements, Africa Union, when it changed, when the Organization of Unity of Africa changed name from that name to Africa Union, he was saying that by 2023, I believe, we're supposed to have one currency. Okay, that was what he was saying in Abidjan agreement. I think you can check that out on your own time. But we did not have it. Africa Union, under African Union Watch, the terrorism has become absolutely insanity almost everywhere in Africa. You guys, you are living that, you know that. If you haven't lose anyone in those terrorism, go down to article number, Agenda 63, aspiration number 4. Aspiration number 4, and the line 32. Line 32, 32, yeah. Aspiration number 4, line 32. Okay, so now you guys, you see, I was talking about the terrorism. Terrorism is everywhere. And you guys, you know how the coups are in every corner of Africa. You can control and found you such just aspiration number 4, and you're gonna find aspiration number 4, line number 32. If you can found it, hopefully you are right here document. But I can read it that. If you guys you can found it, I can read that for you. Aspiration number 4 on Agenda 63, which has already failed. I'm talking about things that has already failed. Mechanism, peaceful and secure Africa. So, you know, this is even a joke. But anyways, so 32. Mechanism for peaceful prevention and solution for conflicts will be function at all levels. As a first step, dialogue-centered conflict prevention and resolution will be active, promoted in such a way that that by 2020, 4 years ago, all guns will be silenced in Africa. Let's stick with that, first of all. Did you guys ask your readers last time they come for Africa Union Summit about this? Because by 2020, we're supposed to have no guns in Africa. Do we really silence guns in Africa? Can you guys prove that to be even little working? Let me tell you the truth. There is guns in Mozambique. There is guns in Eastern Congo. There is guns in Chad. There is guns in Ethiopia. There is guns in Somalia. There is guns in Sudan. There is guns in Chad. There is guns almost every corner of the continent. There is guns. Now, why is that the case? Because African Union is not functioning right. It cannot function right, in fact. Not only does not function right, it cannot even function right. Because this terrorism that is taking over even the countries that has not have those, has not have, yeah, thank you for putting that up. Thank you so much, so that people can see that and prove it, because it's already there. So I'm not making up stuff here. The reason is because who is bringing those guns? Africa, we don't make any gun. We don't. Who is bringing those guns then? It's not these military bases that are everywhere. Kenya is having more than the one we have. Djibouti has, what is that, 9 maybe military bases, foreign military bases. Each country in Africa, Ghana has some, and everywhere there is military bases, foreign military bases. And the African Union can't do anything about that. That's number 2. The change of constitution. The coups are coming, they are results of the change of constitution. The leaders are sitting in power forever. They don't want to leave. So at the end of the day, you found people are doing the coups. So African Union can't do anything about that. The terrorism, I already talked about that. African Union can handle those because absolutely has no power to do that. What is our economic struggles? Our currencies are being devaluated, and African Union can't do anything about it. So we do not need an institution that does not promote United States of Africa. As I started, that's where I'm gonna end. United States of Africa is a must. If African Union cannot give us the destruction completely of remove of the borders, so-called borders, and in fact, made by white people sitting in Europe, African Union, we don't need it. So the unity of Africa, we don't need to, if Nigeria want to unite with Togo or Benin, we don't need African Union for that. If Kenya want to unite with Tanzania, we don't need African Union. So that being said, I think that's why I'm going to end my presentation. But if you guys, you have any question, please, I welcome you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, brother Imani. You say Imani. Yes, we rather than questions, I'm sure people have questions. Rather than questions, I think we'll have a discussion with you. So, but I'd like Brother Sipiwe to reply first, and then we'll hear from others. Brother Sipiwe, you've heard Brother Imani. What do you think?
Okay, greetings. And greetings, Comrade Imani. Imani and I are not strangers to each other. This year we have worked on some projects together. As one of the reasons I came on the platform tonight was to hear my brother speak. Now, in general, I'm in agreement with the content and the various criticisms that our Comrade Imani is making. And I think this is a platform of studied Pan-Africanists. And so I don't think any of us here are unfamiliar with these kinds of discussions, critiques. We should all understand the African Union is an intergovernmental organization. It's a club of governments, of heads of state. It is not a sovereign power. And Comrade Imani is correct. When it says it has no power, it is because of the nature of its organization.
He's muted. So can someone unmute him again? I don't know what happened.
He can unmute himself. It's okay.
There we go. Yes.
So we can hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So having said that, I do want to remind my good brother Imani of something that our great Amilcar Cabral once said. And I'm quoting him now. He said, "We are not going to use this platform to rail against imperialism." An African saying, very common in our country, says, "When your house is burning, it is no use beating the tom-toms." This means that we are not going to eliminate imperialism by shouting insults against it. For us, the best or worst shout against imperialism, whatever its form, is to take up arms and fight. That's the end of the quote. Now, I'm saying this, if we substitute imperialism here, if we substitute African Union, okay. Imani, you're calling for, yes, from the weapons of theory. Imani, you are calling for the African Union to be closed. But who is going to do that? Like, really, who is going to close the African Union? And if you don't have a serious answer for that, I would challenge you on what is the strategic value of saying we should close the African Union, we should close the African Union. I would suggest that in the same vein as Amilcar Cabral was saying, instead of railing against the African Union, let us teach the people the proactive, positive things they can do to establish the continental unity, the United African States, irregardless of the African Union. Because as I have pointed out already, and I dropped it in the chat, I showed you an example from the Burkina Faso Constitution, where it literally says a referendum by the people can cause Burkina Faso to mutualize or surrender some of its sovereignty to a larger sovereign entity. So we can say close the African Union. I don't know how realistic is that. Who is going to close it? And if the answer is the people themselves, then this is exactly what I'm saying. When we teach the people that they have the sovereignty, the power, right? It's about being for something, not against something. And we can shift the conversation to, regardless of what the African Union is doing, here's how we advance to build the Africa we want, irrespective of Agenda 2063. Here's how we build a united African states from the basis of the people in a legal and constitutional way. That is strategy and tactics that I would encourage you, Imani, to take a deeper look at. I yield.
Thank you very much. Brother Pigeon, what do you think?
Thank you, Brother Kwame. I didn't expect to come in now, but let me share.
I did promise to let you start first, so Apologies, but I thought Brother Sipiwe should respond first, so my apologies for that. Yes.
Yes, I believe. Following up.
Can you hold on a sec? Can everyone know that we will ask everyone to share their views? So just so you know, you don't need to raise your hand. If your hand is raised, that's fine. But we'll hear everyone. I'm just letting you know. Thank you. Brother Pigeon, continue, please.
Yeah, following up on the question of Brother Sifiwe, who will close Africa Union? The key question will be like how OAU was changed to AU. And because it is currently occupied by head of states, how will we change it? So does it mean we become the heads of state? We ensure that you have progressive leaders in the continent who take over to be heads of state, like what Burkina Faso is doing, who are ready to surrender, or who are ready to restructure, or who are ready to positively push for the unification of Africa. Because the reason why AU has not attained the unification of Africa, or United States or United Nations of Africa, is because of the leaders. Now, how do you get the leaders? Somebody like Burkina Faso president, who is becoming progressive, you know how we got him? Either you say through the Battle of Gun, as Nkrumah sometimes said back, it might be armed struggle, but he is a head of state who then allows progressive Pan-Africa to breed in and even allow to shape the constitution of his country, direct it towards progressiveness of forfeiting their sovereignty for a bigger sovereignty. So who is going to change the African Union if he had to retain it? If it has to still contain the head of states, yes, then we need to work on how do we get progressive head of states like the Burkina Faso one who can then go ahead and change it. I think that's where my point lies.
Okay, thank you. So I think we have three views on the table. There's a view that which Brother Mane has presented, abolish the AAU. There's a second view, which is forget about the OAU, work on showing the people the power they have to form a continental nation. There's a third view now by Brother Pigeon, which says, no, don't ignore the African Union. Rather, could we work so that should Pan-Africanists get the political power, become the president, so that as members of the AU, they then change it. So that is what is on the desk now for us all to have a conversation about. I'm hoping that we can come to a common view at the end of this discussion. Now let's hear from brother or sister Farai. Sorry, I don't know whether you're brother or sister, so please forgive me. I'm also getting used to African names to know who is from where and so on. So let's hear from brother or sister Farai, please. Magu. Let's see if I can unmute, get you to unmute yourself. Comrade Farai. So there you are. Yeah, your hand has been up for a while. I've lowered it now. Please unmute yourself and speak. Thank you. And Sister Kamupinda, please get ready to speak after Comrade Farai, please. Thank you. Comrade Farai, are you ready to speak? If not, we'll come back to you. Right. Yes, Modesta, please. Do feel free and speak, please.
Hello, everyone. Good evening from Southern Africa. So I'm Modesta, and thank you for this platform and the opportunity to share my views as well. So I like Brother Imani's contribution. He had a lot of perspectives, especially that call us to really introspect and not be naive when we look at our leadership. It was pretty eye-opening. However, I beg to differ on his solution, especially about dissolving the African Union. Just because our institutions have failed or haven't met expectation doesn't call for them to be dissolved. The African Union, ever since it was changed from Organization of African Unity, which is only 20 years ago, is still relatively a young organization. And because of everything that Africa as a continent, or the instability, the lack of financial support that it has been through, it is understandable that it can take time until we have a perfect organization. Even the European Union itself, which is where the idea of the African Union came from. The European Union itself right now has a lot of fights. The UK broke away. They did not agree on a lot of things. They still do not agree on a lot of things, but they still, when it comes to international policy, will come together and make international policy as a union. And you see them having a unified trade policy, unified policy on technology, unified stance when it comes to taking multinational corporations like Google to courts for privacy violations and things like that. Unified stance on agricultural products and food that is being imported into their borders and their citizens. They are working to protect their citizens from an international cooperation point of view. And I think African Union can evolve into that. I don't think it should be dissolved just because it hasn't met expectations. There's room for improvement, and these kind of platforms are very important because these are the platforms and the perspectives that we now need to organize, like through the host of this platform. I'm sure it's an organization. It submits its complaints and petition in an organized way so that any leader or anyone, we make our demands heard. We create petitions so that we demand change. Otherwise, any revolution still needs order. We still need institutions. We cannot dissolve institutions because they are not functioning up to expectations. We have to fight to perfect them, but we do not need to dissolve them, because at the end of the day, even Malcolm X said, we are not outnumbered, we are out-organized. What Africa needs is more organization, more strong institutions. We don't need to dissolve our institutions or break them into multiple civil society groups, because those civil society groups will only become smaller African unions. They'll still be divided. We just need to perfect our institutions via such platforms that are raising concerns and tabulating these concerns and submitting them and advocating and financing and lobbying the relevant parties to make changes within our institutions until we see the change that we need to see. So yeah, just as a closing point, we don't need to throw out the water with the baby. We need organization in the revolution, and let's work with the organizations that we have towards perfecting them. Thank you.
Thank you,
hello,
Sister. Yeah, hello. Yes, hello. Thank you, Sister Modesta, for your view. Shall we hear now from Brother Farai? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my brother, for this very excellent conversation. So I would like to add my voice to the contribution by Imani. And the first is to ask, what are the public goods and services which the African Union is giving to the African people? And if I am to tick several boxes, I can say we are not getting any service from the African. Number one, is African Union promoting democracy and governance on the continent, to improve the living standards and the welfare of the African people. I think we have remained a poster child of poverty and misery in the world under the watch of the African Union, despite the fact that Africa has the youngest population in the world. Africa is home to more than 40% of the non-mineral wealth in the world today. Africa, excuse me, Africa has got relatively some of the best arable soils and even climatic conditions, and yet it is still fed from outside the continent. And we don't know even what comes with the food that we are getting, because our governments don't even have time to investigate scientifically what we receive. And then the other issue we want to ask as well is about the free movement of goods and services on the African continent. I just arrived home last night from Morocco. I'm a Zimbabwean, I live in Zimbabwe. And I was with about 200 people. Most Africans struggled to get a visa. And many even failed to attend that conference because they could not get a visa. At the end of the conference, I spoke to a friend from Spain who said to me, "You don't need a visa to come to Morocco. I just flew to Morocco." Yet Africans need a visa. So when you look at all these services and goods that European Union is giving to its citizens, there's free movement of people and services in Europe. There is upholding of democratic values and governance. The African Union is not giving us those things. Instead, the AU is a trade union of African presidents. It exists to defend the right of African kings and rulers to rule in perpetuity. My country, Zimbabwe, has been in a crisis since 1999. We have never known peace. It used to be perhaps the second most developed economy in the region. But today, Zimbabweans are scattered all over the world, running poor governance. But the AU has never helped us. In 2023, we had an election where both the African Union and SADC produced these reports where they said this election was not free and fair. And yet the man who declared himself the winner is sitting amongst African heads of states. So those are the issues. And therefore I agree that the AU is not fit for purpose. And I think there is need for a true union of the African citizens, which will pass a vote of no confidence. How they will do it, maybe it's a debate for another day. But that noise must continue to come from the African people to say, we want to be free. We want to connect. We want development. We want food sovereignty. We are tired of being fed with food that we don't know how it's grown and what's in that food and all those things. So I believe in the bottom-up approach, and let me end there. But thank you so much for this.
Yes, no, thank you very much. So the time is 40 minutes to 9, and we are very jealous of timekeeping. We don't do African time here. So, but we want to hear everyone. So I'm going to call you. When I call you, please tell us whether you think the African Union should be abolished or not. And then give us only one of the most important reason for your position. Okay, so let me repeat. Yes or no, abolish it, yes or no, no, don't abolish. My reason, if you choose abolish, is A. My reason, if you do not want it abolished, is B. And then, so we can hear from everyone. Thank you. So the next person we would like to hear from is Brother Mafole. So Brother Mafole, unmute yourself. Can
you please pass me towards the end? I think I'm happier listening.
All right, thank you. Brother Jacob. Brother Jacob Ranyao, yes, no, and why? Do you agree with Brother Imani or do you disagree? Okay, Brother Jacob is not ready. Let's go to Brother, I believe he's a brother. Okay, please forgive me if he's not a brother. Let me call the same name, Setsiwayo. Setsiwayo. What do you think? Unmute yourself. Okay, not ready. So let's go to Sister Nancy. Unmute yourself and speak, please.
Yes, hello. It's difficult to say yes or no. I think I agree that the AU is bankrupt. And the concern is dissolving it immediately will create a void that will be filled by other neocolonialists, which presently dominate Africa. But I do agree that it will be destroyed. It will be dissolved once you have an aware and conscious people who demand better representation. So political education is the key.
Right. So I think Sister Nancy's position is the same as Brother Sipiwe, that it would just disappear once we ignore it and a new institution comes into being. Thank you very much, Sister Nancy. By the way, I have put a poll in SurveyMonkey. I tried to do it here. It couldn't work. Please, if you can, click that link in the chat and tell us yes or no, so we know, so we have an overall view of what those who are here think. Sister Maria, what is your view? Yes, abolish, no, don't abolish, and why? Sister Maria, right, not ready. So let's go to Dr. Doche. Sounds like my someone from my nationality in Ghana. Anyway, Doche Waja, please, what do you think? Yes, no, and what's your position?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Yes, I'm from Ghana. Yeah.
Your name sounds like someone from my place. That's why.
Yeah. From the same region.
Yeah. So where do you stand? Yes, no, and why?
Okay. For me, I actually, if something is not yielding fruit, if a tree is not yielding fruit, what do you do with it? You just cut it off. But then, if you cut it off, you need to have a reputable replacement for it, something that can probably yield another fruit. The AU, formerly OAU, has been there, and we've not seen any. They've not brought any progress in our lives. When the leaders are doing evil, bad things, they just sit alone. Sometimes in their meetings, they invite them to come and nothing. When they have their conferences, they invite the Europeans. They invite all sorts of people to come and sit in, tell them their plans, what they want to do. But the Europeans don't invite you when they're having their conferences. They don't. When leaders are, when there's an election, I know they rig the elections. You look at what is happening in some of these African countries, Burkina Faso, what do you call it? Sorry, Cameroon. That man has been there for ages, and yet the next election we will certainly win. What would AU do? They'll just sit and do not do anything about that. So it's happening in so many countries. Burkina Faso has taken a very giant lead. And I don't wish that we have coups. Sometimes, when coups happen, people tend to take advantage and they do all sort of bad things. They rob, they I mean, they do some kind of things. Innocent people may be attacked. I don't wish that coups come, but if it's going to be a genuine and perfect one like Burkina Faso, that there wouldn't be any route here and there that might affect innocent people, fine, so be it.
Thank you, Brother Duce. I think you made your point.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's hear from others. So, Ambon, yes, no, and why? Amon is not ready. Is it? Let me see. Asking to unmute. If not,
thank you, moderator.
Yeah, brother or sister Fala, get ready next. Thank you. Go on. Yeah, sorry.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yes, go on. Are you for or against, and why?
Yes. I cannot support this withdrawing from or breaking down AU.
Okay, why?
AU has contributed immensely to the development of Africans. Though you may not feel it individual as a country, but like take example through African Development Bank, it lends loans for development of infrastructures.
Okay.
Like power dams in Uganda, roads in Rwanda.
Amon, I think
you cannot ignore.
Thank you. We've heard you and why. So Amon is for no, don't abolish it. Let's hear from Fala. Fala, what do you think and why?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, good. No, we cannot. You know, when a tree is not good in Africa, what we do is we prune it. I think what we have failed to do as citizens of Africa ourselves is to set up, institutions. In 2013, we went to the 50th anniversary of the African Union. I was part of the Pan-African organization, and we set up the African Civil Society Organization. It didn't work. You know, there were funding and people just misappropriated. What we need to do, actually, for me, is not to abolish the organization, but to challenge it as citizens. And so as a result of that, we need to set up a Pan-African civil society organization to which we can all contribute, and we work together with the AU, and from within we can change what we want to change. But actually, if you say dissolve it, if you dissolve it, what are you going to do? Are you going to replace it as citizen? It is an organization. It has been set up. It is a bilateral institution and an intergovernmental organization. So what we can do actually is to set up, a Pan-African civil society organization, and then we can we can move on from there.
Yeah, Fala, thank you. Can I suggest that those who don't want it abolished, could you put something in the chat for us so we can work with and get back to you on? Yeah.
All right.
Put your views on the chat for us, and also your a contact so that Brad Pigeon, who is head of our secretariat.
I think there is even. I think I will even go to my email and see if there is the constitution of that institution. I can send it to. I will.
If you can put in the chat for us, that would be great.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
If not, see Brother Pigeon later. I'm sure you have his contact, and let him have the details. Thank you. I think we've heard from. Yeah, thank you. We've heard from a lot of us, but there are still one or two we haven't heard from. Maria, I don't know if you are still ready. Jacob, I don't know if you are ready. Jacob, if you are ready, do you agree, yes or no, and why? 7 of us have filled in the survey, monkey survey on abolishing the AU. If you haven't, please do so. There are 20 of us here, or about 20 of us here. We'd like to hear from the majority of you. Is this sister or brother Chizomo? Can you unmute yourself and share, please? Tapu, I'll come to you in a moment. Thank you. Chizomo, your hand is also up. Yes, please. Let's hear what you have to say. I'm trying to ask you to unmute. So if you have unmuted, please speak. Thank you. Chizomo? Yeah, you can unmute yourself. Yep, and speak, please. your hand was up, Chizomo Grace. Unmute yourself, please, and speak. Okay. While Chizomo is getting ready, let's see who hasn't spoken. Jacob, looks like you don't want to speak. Okay,
Hello.
no. Right, Chizomo Grace.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
yeah,
we
no,
can.
it wasn't allowing me to unmute.
Oh, sorry about that technology.
Okay.
Okay.
I would start from
yes, no, and why? Thank you.
no,
Yes,
no, I need to explain myself properly.
Yeah, but before that, are you for abolition or for non-abolition?
I would say no for the time being.
Why?
Simply because when the presenter presented the background on how this thing was formed and by who, and then went through the problems in the constitution and concluded that because of the problems in the constitution, it's difficult to do certain things. But then he skipped the process and concluded that it should be closed without suggesting reviewing and looking into the constitutions to make amendment, like people are saying. Let's bring out change. Let's work out what the problems are and bring about change. The constitution itself will have a provision for doing that, how you change the constitution, and for it to be favorable, either by all these other organizations being suggested, bringing in proposals and things like that for them to consider. So what needs doing is first is changing the constitution. But is it changeable or not based on who formed it, who wrote it, the reason behind writing it that way? Will it be able to be changed, or is it not even possible to change it? If it's not possible to change it, then it's of no use. To that end, I would say abolish and start something else, but give it a chance to change the constitution, fit in what we want to achieve as Africans and not other people from outside. Let's stop inviting these people to come and tell us how to write our constitutions and run our constitutions on the continent. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone is asking me who is the we. The we here in the survey, sorry if it's poorly worded, is us here. Those of us on this this Zoom, that's the we. Sorry about that. If that wasn't clear, next time I'll be clearer. So we've had, thank you, Sister Chizomo, great point. Why abolish if you can amend it? So thank you. I think we've heard from everyone, just checking. I know Brother Mafolo wanted to speak last or just listen. So I think we've heard everyone. Yes, we've heard everyone, except that we haven't heard some who spoke before the discussion. So Sister Tapua, yeah. Sister Tapua, yes, no, and why? And then Sister Myra, get ready also to share. Yes, no, and why. It is 9 o'clock, but we shall hear from you. Thank you. Sister Tapua, yes, no, and why? Sorry. Sister Tapua. And Samara, get ready to speak up, Sister Tapua. Thank you. Yes, yes, no, and why?
I'm in for abolishing it.
Why?
Because I'm very wary of how cunning the colonialists are. Because if they have put something in place, they're always second guessing us in terms of where we're going and what we want to do. So for example, when slave trade ended, they knew there were rebellions already. They couldn't contain it anymore. When they started giving us our independence, they knew they couldn't contain it, but they always have something in place to make sure that things are always in their favor. So how I'm looking at it is, if this AU could not accept the likes of Mali and those other Africans who are daring to be different, why would we stick to those leaders who are trying to protect their positions? Because I look at the AU currently as a club for leaders, where they protect each other.
Because of time, I think we've kind of got your point. So you are saying no, and why? Because the Europeans or the colonizers or the imperialists are cunning. So I think your point is
I think, okay, just one more thing. I think we just need to be more daring, because we cannot be afraid. Because my reaction to the people saying no is because the how has not been answered adequately. So let's get it done. Let's get it done.
Yeah, I mean, you have a point. Sister Chizuma, for instance, is saying that don't abolish it, but let's see how we can do. If we can't, then we can abolish it. But at least let's try and see if we can change the constitution. So I don't think those who said no are necessarily against changing it. So no, thanks for your position. Sister Myra, I think you'll be our last, and then Brother Pigeon will say a few words and close the meeting. Thanks.
I am for absolutely abolishing it because, like Brother Imani said, I was founded by the imperialists, and any institute that's founded by imperialists, not for Africans. We need institutions that are for Africans by Africans. And echoing Sister Tapua's submission, we ought to be daring and radical because these imperialists are insidious. And I hope the younger generation coming after us will be more daring and more radical.
Thank you. Brother Pigeon, I'm going to share on the screen what the vote is. Here it comes, for and against. Looks like the abolitionists have it.
Oh, thank you. The younger generation are like myself. Who wanted
abolitionists have it, yes. Well, Brother Pigeon, over to you, sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much. The younger generation are like myself who wanted to be part of the African Union chairperson to actually change the African Union. I applied for that, but these neo-colonial state and neo-colonial governments could not even accept my letter in the first place. So I don't think even an attempt to change it from our side might be possible, because people like myself who either think of getting in to be the African Union chairperson and change this, they blocked me. But also, yes, it's a good conversation. The question should go further. Can we also abolish our countries that are neo-colonial setups, the so-called Kenya, Uganda, and the rest? Something we have to brainstorm. So, comrades, thank you for your time and your attendance, your activeness. Brother Kwame, thank you for the chairing this, and everybody else who joined us. Actually, it was, I believe, an honest and candid conversation. Everybody had time to say what they think without being blocked to what you think. So this is what we have every Saturday. I've shared our group link for WhatsApp. If you want to join, you can join the WhatsApp. Basically, that's not where our discussion takes place. We take our discussions here. But before I end this, Brother Imani, just a minute also, because one, I want to thank you for your excellent actual presentation. Just a minute to say something as your end remark. Brother Kwame, I think it will be unfair if we don't allow him to do that. Thank you very much, Brother Imani. Just a minute. Just one word you can tell us as you end this, and know that we appreciate your time and your presentation. Brother Imani?
Thank you so much. I do appreciate for you guys to give me opportunity, but also this group is intellectually. So every discussion took place here. It was intellectually. It was not a conflict thing. So I appreciate for that. And whether you stand to abolish it or to work or any other things, to create another challenge, to ignore it, all of that is a discussion we must have. And at the end of the day, we must look what is happening to us, our people today who are dying hungry, and those who are suffering, and what is going to happen in the future and what have happened in the past in order to move forward. God bless Africa. Asante Kwaheri.
Asante sana. Now, based on the feedback we've had today on 3 positions, or almost 4 positions, we will have definitely African Union Part 2, according to Brother Kwame's permission, if that's okay, where now we'll have to categorize our discussions further on the alternatives available. This coming Thursday, we are continuing our Conscious in Philosophy class, which is always taking place every Thursday. We do share all our recordings on our YouTube channel that I've shared every Monday. So every Monday, you can find all our recording in our YouTube channel with over 100 videos for our past class. Just subscribe. Next Saturday, we are looking forward to another actually conversation. But basically, as Brother Kwame said, we will also be taking time to analyze African news to know where we are in terms of African liberation. The purpose of our class to assess African liberation, unification, and development, and ask the question why or what should be done and how can we achieve it. So without further ado, comrades, I do wish you blessed evening whenever you are, or afternoon, and please join us again. And thank you very much for this time. We are looking forward to engage with you further. We also have other Pan-African committees that are coming up. Sorry, Brother Kwame, for that. We've set up our Pan-African committees that will be coming up soon, where was formed out of our conversation on African Liberation Day. And we also want to thank comrades who supported us in our Zoom renewal for this annual year. We thank you very much, and we'll be reaching out to you in person to thank you for your solidarity support. Thank you for supporting this work. Blessed evening. Thank you all.